The chandeliers glowed like frozen fire above the ballroom. Waiters moved in quiet rhythm, their trays gliding through the air, silver catching the light. On the far side of the room, a woman in a pale silk gown clinked her glass for attention. Before we begin the next presentation, she announced with a smile too bright to be kind, "We have something special." Her name was Tessa Lowe, head of public relations for the company, and every word that left her mouth carried that smooth confidence people often mistake for warmth. She turned toward a woman in a dark uniform standing near the service doors. Rosa Alvarez, the janitor who had been cleaning since sunrise. Rosa froze, a spray bottle still in her hand. "Rosa, darling," Tessa said into the microphone, "you told me you used to sing, didn't you? Why don't you share that talent with us tonight?" Laughter rippled across the tables. Some guests looked amused, others simply curious. A few phones lifted discreetly, ready to record. Rosa's face went pale. I really shouldn't," she murmured, but Tessa was already waving her forward. "Oh, come on. It's for charity," Tessa said sweetly. "Let's give our janitor a big round of applause." The band shifted awkwardly on stage, unsure whether to play along. Rosa's shoes felt glued to the marble floor. Her heart pounded loud enough to drown the noise around her. At the edge of the crowd, Ethan Park, the head of the company, turned his head from a conversation. He frowned slightly, not yet understanding what was happening. To him, Rosa was the quiet woman who mopped the corridors after midnight, invisible but reliable. Now she stood trembling under the same lights that usually shone on executives and investors. "Go ahead," Tessa urged, handing her the microphone. "Let's see what the heart of our company sounds like." The laughter grew. Rosa wanted to disappear. She thought of her daughter, Maya, at home with a babysitter, her tiny hands clapping along to old songs. She thought of the bills still waiting on the kitchen counter. She needed this job. She couldn't afford to offend anyone. So she stepped forward. The microphone felt cold in her hand. The band started a tune, jazzy, unfamiliar, with notes that tangled around her nerves. She didn't know the melody. It was never meant for her voice. Someone in the back whispered, "This should be interesting." Another chuckled. Rosa tried to speak, but her throat closed. All she could hear was her own pulse. Ethan took a step closer, catching a glimpse of her fear. Something about the scene felt wrong, but before he could intervene, the music swelled. Rosa closed her eyes. The laughter faded to a dull echo in her mind. She thought of her mother's lullabies, of late nights in the tiny kitchen where she once practiced songs she never got to finish. She opened her mouth. The first note came out small, fragile, but it was real. And as it floated through the ballroom, the sound sliced through the noise like a beam of light through smoke. Every head began to turn. But Tessa's smile only widened, unaware that what she'd started as a cruel joke was about to become something she could never control. Because what happened next would change everything. The next morning, the ballroom looked nothing like it had the night before. The tables were stripped bare, the floor scattered with napkins and wilted petals. Rosa moved quietly between the chairs, sweeping what was left of other people's celebrations. Every step still echoed with what had happened. That moment when the laughter had turned into silence, when her voice had cut through the air and somehow held it still. She hadn't slept. She kept replaying it in her mind, unsure if it was courage or pure panic that had made her sing. Either way, she knew Tessa hadn't meant it as a compliment. "Rosa, there you are," a voice called softly. It was Mr. Hayes, the night security guard. He carried a cup of coffee in one hand and the tired kindness of someone who had worked too many double shifts. "You shouldn't let them push you around like that," he said, setting the cup beside her mop bucket. "That woman was trying to make a fool out of you." Rosa gave a small smile. "It's fine, Mr. Hayes. I kept my job. That's all that matters." He shook his head. "There's a difference between keeping your job and letting people step on you. Don't forget that." She nodded but said nothing. He was right, but right didn't pay rent. By late afternoon, the office floors were buzzing again. Workers passed Rosa without noticing her. That was how it usually went. She was part of the background, invisible until someone spilled coffee or broke a glass. Tessa walked by, heels clicking against the tile. Her tone was syrupy sweet. "Rosa, you were such a hit last night. People can't stop talking about you." Rosa froze mid-wipe. "I think they were laughing, Miss Lowe." "Well, laughter is still engagement," Tessa said with a shrug. "We're planning another event next month. Maybe we'll let you open the evening again. The press loved it." Rosa blinked. "The press?" Tessa smiled. "Oh, it was live streamed to our donors. They adored the authenticity." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Don't worry. You were charming," in a rough around the edges kind of way. Then she walked off, leaving Rosa standing there with her rags still dripping water. Later that evening, Rosa stopped by the kitchen for dinner. The catering team had packed away leftovers from the gala. Antonio, the head chef, spotted her. "Hey, you hungry? We've got plenty." He slid a plate toward her, his accent thick with warmth. "You should eat after a night like that." She hesitated. "Did you watch it?" He nodded. "I did. You were brave. Most people would have run off that stage." "I didn't have a choice." Antonio studied her face. "You always have a choice. Sometimes it just costs more." She thought about that all the way home. The streets of Seattle were slick from rain, the lights turning the puddles gold. Her small apartment smelled of detergent and baby lotion. Maya was already asleep on the couch, her tiny chest rising and falling beneath a pink blanket. Rosa knelt beside her daughter, brushing a curl from her forehead. "You know, sweet pea," she whispered, "Mom made a fool of herself tonight. But maybe that's better than being invisible." She sat there in the dim light for a long time, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. In another part of the city, Ethan sat alone in his office, replaying a short clip someone had sent him, a shaky recording from the gala. The sound quality was rough, but her voice, it stayed with him. He leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. He didn't know who she really was. He only knew that something about that song, that unplanned, frightened song, had stirred something he hadn't felt in years. And he had no idea that the next time he heard it, it wouldn't be by accident. Because Tessa's little performance was just the beginning. And soon, Rosa would find herself back in the spotlight. But this time, she wouldn't be able to walk away. Rain fell steady over the city that week, tapping against the tall windows of the office tower like a quiet metronome. Rosa worked her night shift as always, wiping down tables, emptying trash bins, humming softly when she thought no one was around. Her voice was gentler at night, meant for empty rooms. Sometimes Mr. Hayes would pass by and pause near the doorway, pretending to check his phone while he listened. "Still singing, huh?" he said one evening with a small smile. "Just trying to stay awake," Rosa replied, wringing out her mop. "It helps me forget how quiet it gets." Hayes nodded, then looked around before lowering his voice. "You know that clip from the gala? It's been floating around online. Some folks are saying you were amazing." Rosa froze. "Online?" He shrugged. "Yeah, someone from the event posted it. Got shared a few times. I guess people like seeing someone real for a change." Her stomach tightened. She didn't like being talked about, especially not like that. But deep down, a tiny part of her wondered if maybe, just maybe, it could lead somewhere better. The next morning, Rosa was called upstairs to the executive floor. She'd never been there before. The carpets were thick. The air smelled faintly of lemon and money. A receptionist smiled too widely. "Miss Lowe will see you now." Inside, Tessa was sitting behind a sleek white desk, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up when Rosa entered. "Rosa," she said finally, "our donors loved your little moment at the gala. It gave the company a human touch." Rosa shifted uneasily. "I didn't mean to make a scene." "Oh, it was perfect," Tessa said, standing. "So authentic. We might use it again, maybe a short campaign. Faces behind the floors, something like that. I'll need you to sign a release form." Rosa's eyes widened. "A campaign? You mean my face, my voice?" "Exactly. Just a few short clips, maybe an interview. Nothing fancy." "I don't think I'm comfortable with that," Rosa said quietly. Tessa smiled as if speaking to a child. "Rosa, this is good for you. Exposure, recognition. Don't overthink it." When Rosa didn't respond, the smile dropped. "Of course, participation is voluntary," Tessa said coolly, "but refusing might complicate things. You understand?" Rosa did, loud and clear. Later that night, she told Antonio in the kitchen while helping him pack leftovers. "They want to use me for a campaign," she said, frustration trembling in her voice. "But I'm just the janitor. I don't belong in some ad." Antonio placed a hand on her shoulder. "You belong anywhere your work takes you. Don't let them twist that." Rosa gave him a tired smile. "You always make it sound easy." "It's not easy," he admitted, "but it's right." Before she could answer, a familiar voice echoed from the hallway. "Miss Alvarez?" It was Ethan. He stepped into the kitchen, hands in his pockets, expression calm but curious. "I wanted to thank you," he said, "for the other night. Your performance reminded me that this company was built by people who care. not just people who invest. Rosa blinked. "Thank you, sir. I didn't really plan to—" "I know," he said, smiling faintly. "That's what made it special." He started to leave, then paused at the door. "Miss Lowe mentioned something about a campaign. If it makes you uncomfortable, tell me." Rosa hesitated. "It's fine. I don't want trouble." Ethan studied her for a moment, seeing the way she twisted her hands nervously. "Sometimes doing the right thing brings trouble," he said softly. "But it's still right." After he left, Antonio let out a low whistle. "Looks like someone finally noticed the voice in the hallways." Rosa tried to laugh, but worry sat heavy in her chest. Because deep down she could feel something shifting, attention she hadn't asked for, eyes starting to turn her way. And she couldn't shake the feeling that this attention was not a blessing. It was a trap waiting to close. And before long, she would find herself standing in front of another crowd, one that wouldn't be laughing this time. By the time the next gala came around, spring had started to settle over the city. The air carried that faint sweetness that makes people believe things can begin again. But for Rosa, it only brought nerves. She'd spent the past weeks cleaning the same halls where her voice once echoed, pretending not to notice the glances, the whispers. The video from that night had spread farther than she knew. Some clips had been cut into short reels with captions like "Janitor Shocks, Corporate Gala," and "Real Talent Found in the Halls." Most people found it inspiring. A few thought it was funny. Rosa stopped reading the comments after the first night. The kindness stung just as much as the cruelty. That morning, Tessa appeared at the storage room door with her usual polished smile. "Big day, Rosa. I hope you're ready." "For what?" "The follow-up event. We're calling it Voices of the Company. You'll open again, same stage, same crowd. Only this time we've prepared the song for you." Rosa frowned. "I don't want to sing again. I only did it because you told me to." Tessa's smile didn't falter. "And it worked, didn't it? People love you. Don't ruin a good thing." Rosa felt her stomach turn. "Miss Lowe, I'm not an entertainer. I clean floors." Tessa stepped closer, her tone soft but sharp. "Not tonight, you don't. The board expects you to perform. Don't make me explain why you're suddenly uncooperative." Rosa stared at the floor. She wanted to speak, to refuse, but her words stuck somewhere behind her ribs. When the sun went down, the ballroom lit up again. Same golden chandeliers, same polished marble, same air of expensive perfume and laughter. Rosa stood backstage clutching the microphone, her palms damp. The band began to tune, and she noticed the sheet music on the stand. It wasn't her song. It wasn't anything she recognized. "What is this?" she whispered to one of the musicians. "New arrangement," he said quietly. "She told us to make it lively." Rosa's chest tightened. "Lively?" The band leader shrugged, eyes sympathetic. She said people like it when you surprise them. Out front, Tessa took the stage. Her voice rang through the speakers. "Tonight, we celebrate every worker who makes this company shine, from the boardroom to the broom closet." Laughter rippled again. Rosa felt her throat close. She could see Ethan in the audience, standing near a group of investors, his expression unreadable. "And to remind us of the spirit that keeps us grounded," Tessa continued, "please welcome our very own Rosa Alvarez." Applause filled the room, polite but curious. Rosa stepped out into the light, every eye turning toward her. The music started, upbeat, fast, wrong for her voice. She tried to find her place, but the rhythm ran ahead like a train she couldn't catch. A few people chuckled as she stumbled over the opening line. Her vision blurred. For a moment, she thought about running, just dropping the microphone and walking off the stage. But then she caught sight of a small figure near the back. Maya standing beside Mr. Hayes, who had managed to sneak her in with a guest pass. Her daughter was watching with a look of pure faith, the kind only a child could have. Rosa steadied her breath. She turned away from the sheet music and looked at the band. "Please," she whispered, "play slower. Just follow me." The pianist hesitated, then nodded. The drummer softened his touch. Rosa began to sing the only song she knew by heart. The one her mother used to hum while folding laundry late at night. A song about working hands, tired hearts, and hope that never dies. Her voice trembled at first, but with each verse, it grew stronger. The laughter stopped. Forks clinked softly as people lowered their glasses and turned to listen. When she reached the last note, the room fell completely silent. Not a single person moved. Tessa stood frozen near the side of the stage, her smile gone. her face pale. And somewhere in that silence, Ethan realized he had heard that voice before. Not from the gala, but from the empty halls after midnight, echoing through the building's security feed. He didn't say a word, but in that moment, something inside him shifted, because what he just witnessed wasn't a performance. It was truth, and the truth has a way of echoing long after the music fades. That night, long after the guests had gone home and the laughter had vanished, Ethan stayed behind. The ballroom was quiet again, stripped of its applause and perfume, leaving only the faint scent of wax and champagne in the air. He stood near the stage where Rosa had sung, staring at the microphone still resting in its stand. He couldn't shake the sound of her voice. It wasn't just beautiful, it was haunting, familiar, like something that had been echoing in the background of his life without him noticing. As the lights dimmed, Mr. Hayes entered from the side door, holding his security tablet. "Still here, sir?" he asked gently. Ethan nodded. "I'm trying to figure something out." Hayes hesitated, glancing toward the stage. "You're thinking about Rosa, aren't you?" Ethan turned, surprised. "You know her?" "Everyone who works the night shift does. She keeps this place alive when the rest of you are home asleep." He smiled faintly. "She sings, you know, always has. The cameras pick it up sometimes." "The cameras?" Hayes nodded and tapped the screen. "I've got something to show you. You might want to hear it." He scrolled through a folder labeled Night Recordings. Static filled the air, then a soft hum. A woman's voice, pure and tired but full of warmth, rising through the quiet halls. Ethan froze. It was her, the same melody, the same broken edge that made it human. He remembered working late one night months ago, hearing that faint sound through the security feed and thinking it must be the cleaning crew playing music. He'd written himself a note back then, find out who sings after hours. But he'd forgotten, too busy with deadlines and investors. Now he stood there listening to what he'd ignored. "How long has she been singing like this?" he asked quietly. "Since the day she started," Hayes replied. "Sometimes when the floor's empty, she hums to herself, says it keeps her company." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "Does she know these recordings exist?" Hayes shook his head. "No. They're just from the hallway cameras. But I think she should." For a while, they stood in silence, the faint echo of Rosa's voice filling the empty room. It wasn't perfect. It cracked in places, but there was something raw in it, something you couldn't buy or polish. Ethan sighed. "She was never supposed to be on that stage tonight, was she?" Hayes looked away. "No, sir. She was pushed there. Everyone knows it." The next morning, Rosa arrived early. Her hands still trembled from the night before. She tried to focus on work, but people stopped her in the halls, some to congratulate her, others to stare like she was a curiosity on display. She didn't want fame, she wanted peace. When she reached the janitor's closet, she found a small envelope taped to the door. Inside was a folded note written in clean, careful handwriting. "Come to my office tonight after your shift. I want to talk. EP." Rosa's heart pounded. She wasn't sure if it was fear or hope. That evening, she climbed to the top floor after everyone had gone home. The lights in Ethan's office were still on. He was standing by the window, looking out over the city. "Miss Alvarez," he said softly when she entered. "Thank you for coming." She hesitated at the door. "Am I in trouble?" He turned to her with a gentle smile. "No, you're not in trouble. I just needed to hear your story from you." Rosa swallowed hard. "There's not much to tell. I sing when no one's around. I used to study music, but life, it had other plans." Ethan nodded slowly. "And the song from last night?" "It was my mother's," she said. "She used to hum it when she was tired, but didn't want me to see her cry." Ethan looked down at the small speaker on his desk, then pressed play. The sound filled the office, her voice from the night cameras, drifting through the quiet like a ghost. Rosa gasped. "Where did you get that?" "From the security feed. I didn't know it was you until tonight." She stepped closer, emotions flooding her face. You recorded me." "Not on purpose," he said quickly. "It was just the hallway audio. But when I heard it again, I realized I'd ignored something important, someone important." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The city lights shimmered across the window, catching the tears she tried to hide. Ethan finally said, "You shouldn't have been humiliated like that. I'm sorry." Rosa shook her head. "It's not your fault." "Maybe not," he said softly, "but it happened under my roof." He paused, his voice turning steady. "And I intend to make it right." Rosa didn't know what that meant, but in that quiet room, with her voice echoing softly through the speakers, she felt something she hadn't in a long time seen. What she didn't know was that the recording in his office would soon become the key to everything, and that someone else already knew it existed. The next day, the building felt different. Rosa could sense it the moment she walked in. The way conversations stopped when she passed, the way smiles came a little too quickly. Word was spreading again, but this time it wasn't just about the song. It was about her meeting with Ethan. By noon, Tessa was already waiting in the break room, her tone bright and poisonous. "Rosa," she said, crossing her arms, "I hear you've been getting special attention lately." Rosa froze. "I'm just doing my job, Miss Lowe." "Sure you are," Tessa said with a thin smile. "Funny how the janitor suddenly becomes the talk of the company. The board's impressed, the press is curious, and you, of course, are the innocent voice of the people." "I never asked for that," Rosa replied quietly. Tessa leaned in closer. "No, but you sure got lucky. Enjoy it while it lasts." Before Rosa could respond, Tessa turned and walked out, heels clicking sharply down the hall. That night, Rosa tried to shake off the unease. She stayed late, humming softly while mopping the upper floors. The quiet comforted her. It was the only time she felt the world stop demanding things from her. As she worked, she heard a soft knock at the door. It was Mr. Hayes holding something small in his hand. "I thought you should have this," he said. It was a tiny silver drive. Rosa frowned. "What is it?" "The recording," he said simply. "The one from the cameras. Ethan played it last night, didn't he? I figured it was yours to keep." She stared at the little object, unsure what to say. "Why are you giving this to me?" Hayes smiled. "Because people like you deserve to own your own story. Don't let anyone else tell it for you." Rosa's throat tightened. "Thank you." He nodded and left, leaving her alone with the faint hum of the lights above. She slipped the drive into her pocket, unaware that just down the hallway someone had been watching, a pair of sharp eyes hidden behind a half-closed door. Tessa stepped out a moment later, pulling out her phone and typing a message. She has the file. The next morning, Ethan's assistant came rushing into his office, pale and nervous. "Sir, there's something you should see." He turned the laptop toward Ethan. A video was playing online, a low-quality clip of Rosa singing at the gala, overlaid with text. "The CEO's secret songbird." Ethan frowned. "Who uploaded this?" "We don't know, but it's spreading fast. Some think it's part of a campaign. Others say it's a cover-up. People are asking questions." He closed his eyes for a moment, jaw tight. This wasn't what Rosa deserved. She hadn't asked for fame, and now she was being dragged into a story she didn't control. Down in the basement, Rosa was facing her own storm. Reporters had already shown up at the side entrance, calling her name. She had no idea how they even knew where to find her. When she got to her locker, the door was hanging open. Inside, the silver drive was gone. Her heart stopped. She searched everywhere, under the bench, behind the cleaning supplies, but it was useless. It was gone. Then, taped to the inside of her locker, she found a note. "You don't belong here. Leave before this gets worse." Her hand shook as she read it. The letters were written in thick black marker, rushed and angry. For the first time since that night on stage, fear replaced the quiet pride she'd felt. She didn't know who to trust anymore. Upstairs, Ethan was already on the phone demanding answers. "Find out who leaked that video and get me every copy of that recording now." He didn't know yet that the original, the one from the hallway cameras, had vanished. And he didn't know that the person who took it had plans to use it. Plans that could destroy everything. Because for Rosa, the song that once gave her peace was about to become the weapon that turned her world upside down. The following morning began like any other, except nothing felt ordinary. Rosa woke up to the sound of her phone buzzing nonstop. At first, she thought it was her alarm, but then she saw the notifications. Messages, missed calls, news alerts. Her hands trembled as she scrolled. Headlines flashed across the screen. The janitor who stole the show. Mystery woman behind the CEO's viral video. Her face was everywhere. Someone had taken the footage from that night and posted it online. Edited, sensationalized, twisted. The video made it look like she was performing for Ethan on purpose, like it was part of some secret affair. Her stomach dropped. The internet had turned her moment of strength into something dirty. When Rosa arrived at work, the security guard wouldn't meet her eyes. Two women from accounting whispered near the elevators. Even Antonio, her friend in the kitchen, just shook his head quietly. I tried to tell them it wasn't like that, he said softly. But people believe what they want to believe. Rosa wanted to disappear. Upstairs, Ethan was in a closed-door meeting with his board. The PR director spoke in a rehearsed tone, but her eyes were full of panic. The video has over 1 million views. Half the comments are accusing you of misconduct. If we don't respond today, this could destroy your reputation. Ethan leaned back, exhausted. And what about Rosa? She's being painted as a gold digger, the woman said bluntly. Someone claiming to have leaked the video is saying you two were secretly involved. Ethan slammed his hand on the table, startling everyone. That's a lie. She's an employee who got humiliated at my event. Nothing more. We'll find out who's behind this. Meanwhile, Rosa sat alone in the locker room, staring at her reflection in the dented metal door. The note from yesterday still haunted her. Whoever wanted her gone, they were succeeding. A knock echoed against the doorframe. It was Julia, the new HR manager. She looked uncomfortable, clutching a clipboard. Rosa, could we talk for a minute? Rosa nodded, bracing herself. They sat in the small staff lounge, the air heavy with silence. You're a good worker, Julia began. But the company is under a lot of pressure right now. The video has complicated things. Rosa's voice wavered. You're firing me, Julia sighed. We're calling it a suspension while things get sorted out. Please understand, this isn't personal. Rosa swallowed hard, her throat burning. Everything about this is personal. She gathered her things quietly, refusing to cry where anyone could see. As she walked past the lobby, she noticed Ethan standing there, surrounded by reporters. The flash of cameras reflected off the glass doors. One journalist shouted, Mr. Blake, is it true the janitor was your mistress? Ethan's expression darkened. No comment. Rosa froze, caught in the middle of the crowd. Their eyes met for a second, long enough for her to see the exhaustion in his face and for him to see the hurt in hers. He took a step toward her, but the security team moved between them, ushering him toward the exit. By the time Rosa stepped outside, the cameras were gone, replaced by the gray drizzle of morning rain. She stood on the sidewalk, clutching her box of belongings, unsure where to go next. Her phone buzzed again, a new message from an unknown number. You should have stayed quiet. Now you'll both lose everything. She looked up, scanning the street, but saw only passing cars. And for the first time, Rosa realized this wasn't just gossip or office drama. Someone was orchestrating all of it. And whoever they weren't done yet. Because in a city built on stories, the wrong story could ruin you. And Rosa was living proof of that. Rosa spent the next 2 days in silence. She stayed in her small apartment, blinds half closed, trying to drown out the noise of the world outside. The internet had already made up its mind. Strangers called her names online. People she'd never met decided who she was, what she wanted, and why she had sung that night. Every few minutes, her phone buzzed with another message, some cruel, some pitying, none helpful. She turned it face down on the counter and pressed her palms against her eyes. How did it all get so twisted? Then, late one evening, someone knocked on her door. It was Ethan. He looked tired, not like the sharp, polished executive she remembered, but like a man who hadn't slept in days. Rosa, he said softly, I shouldn't be here, but I needed to talk to you. She stepped aside to let him in. The apartment was small, with boxes stacked near the door from the life she'd been too afraid to unpack fully. They suspended me, she said quietly, told me to wait until the situation calms down. Whatever that means. Ethan nodded, his jaw tense. They're trying to protect the company. But I know this isn't your fault. Someone inside leaked that footage, and I think I know who. Rosa's eyes widened. Who? He hesitated, then took a deep breath. Tessa. She had access to the recordings and a motive. She wanted me out, and she saw you as a way to do it. I found traces of the upload linked to her personal email, but it's not enough proof yet. Rosa sank onto the couch, covering her mouth in disbelief. So all of this? The humiliation, the headlines. It was just revenge? Ethan sat across from her. Revenge and ambition. She's been pushing for my position for months. The board's been looking for an excuse to force me out. Rosa looked down at her hands. I should have known. I felt it. The way she looked at me after the gala, like I was something stuck to her shoe. They sat in silence for a while, the weight of everything pressing between them. Finally, Ethan spoke again. There's more. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small USB drive, the one Rosa thought she had lost. Her heart skipped. "Where did you get that?" "It turned up on my assistant's desk this morning in an unmarked envelope. I watched it." Rosa's voice broke. "So now everyone's seen me." He shook his head. "Not that version. The original security footage. The one from the hallway before the gala." She frowned. "What hallway?" He turned the drive over in his hand. "It shows Vanessa, Tessa's friend, sneaking into the control room before your performance. She was the one who told the tech team to cue your mic. They set you up long before I even arrived." Rosa felt her breath catch. "So it really was planned." "Yes," Ethan said quietly. "They wanted to make a fool out of you and ruin me at the same time. But now we have proof." Her voice trembled. "What are you going to do with it?" He looked at her for a long moment. "I'm going to clear your name, even if it costs me mine." Rosa shook her head. "You don't owe me that." Ethan leaned forward, his voice low, steady. "Rosa, you didn't deserve any of this. You were kind to people who didn't even see you. You reminded me that decency still exists in a place that's forgotten it." Her eyes filled with tears. "And what about you? If you expose her, they'll come after you too." He smiled faintly. "Let them." For the first time in weeks, Rosa felt something she hadn't dared to: hope. Outside, rain began to fall again, tapping softly against the window. Ethan stood and slipped the drive into his coat pocket. "I'll handle the board tomorrow," he said. "You don't have to face them alone anymore." As he left, Rosa stood by the window, watching the city lights blur through the rain. For months, she had cleaned floors no one noticed, sung songs no one heard. Now the truth, like her voice that night, was finally about to be heard. And when it was, the world would never see her the same way again. The next morning, Rosa woke to a storm. Not outside, but in the city itself. Every news channel was buzzing about the upcoming shareholder meeting. Rumors said Ethan Blake, the once unshakable CEO, was about to face removal. And at the center of the chaos was her name. Rosa watched the morning coverage from the small TV in her kitchen. Her stomach turned every time they showed that grainy video, the same one twisted to make her look like a scandal. Oh. She wanted to shut it off, but something in her told her to stay. Because today, maybe, the truth would finally be heard. By noon, Ethan walked into the boardroom of glass and steel. The tension was thick enough to cut through. Dozens of faces, executives, shareholders, lawyers, all waiting for his explanation. At the far end of the table sat Tessa Lowe, perfectly poised, her expression calm, but her eyes sharp. "Mr. Blake," the chairman began, "your leadership has brought this company great success, but recent events have caused public embarrassment. We need to discuss accountability." Ethan nodded. "I agree completely." Whispers rippled through the room. They expected him to step down. But instead, Ethan placed a small flash drive on the table. "This," he said, "is the original footage from the gala's security system. It shows exactly who orchestrated the so-called scandal that's damaged this company." Tessa shifted slightly in her chair. Ethan continued, "The footage shows Vanessa Cole entering the control room minutes before the performance. She worked with Tessa Lowe, who, as you know, oversees internal communications and media relations, to leak the edited version online." A board member frowned. "That's a serious accusation." "It's not an accusation," Ethan said calmly. "It's evidence." He nodded to his assistant, who projected the video onto the large screen. The room fell silent. The clip played, Vanessa whispering to the technician, the smirk on her face, Tessa waiting by the door. Then came the instruction clear as day. "Make sure the mic goes live when the janitor walks on stage." When the video ended, the silence was heavy and absolute. Tessa's mask cracked first. "That proves nothing. Anyone could have..." Ethan cut her off, his tone steady. "The timestamps match the leaked file. The upload came from your device. We traced it." A voice from the end of the table spoke, one of the older board members, calm but cold. "Miss Lowe, I think we're done here." Her face paled. "You can't just..." But security was already moving toward her. Ethan exhaled, finally setting down the weight he'd been carrying for weeks. "I take responsibility for trusting the wrong people," he said quietly. "But Rosa Alvarez did nothing wrong. She was humiliated, exploited, and made into a story she never asked for. That ends today." He turned off the screen. "And if anyone here believes that standing up for an honest worker is bad for business, then I'll resign right now." No one spoke. Finally, the chairman leaned back in his chair. "Mr. Blake," he said, "you've made your point. The board appreciates your transparency. You still have our confidence." Ethan nodded once, then left the room without another word. Outside the building, the rain had stopped. The air felt lighter, clearer, like the city itself had been holding its breath. That afternoon, Rosa's phone rang. She almost didn't answer, thinking it was another reporter. But when she heard Ethan's voice, she froze. "It's over," he said simply. "They believe the truth, and your name's been cleared." Rosa pressed a hand to her chest. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to," he replied. "But there's something else. I want you to come by the building tomorrow, not as staff, as a guest." She hesitated. "Why?" He smiled through the phone, his voice warm for the first time in weeks. "Because we're hosting something new, a fundraiser for community programs, and I think people deserve to hear you sing again." For a moment, Rosa couldn't breathe. "You want me to perform?" "Only if you want to," Ethan said softly. "This time, on your terms." Rosa looked around her quiet apartment, at the broom leaning against the wall, the boxes still half unpacked. She had spent her whole life cleaning other people's spaces, making them shine. Maybe it was time to let her own light out too. "I'll be there," she said finally. That night, she stood by her window, watching the city glow under a new, quiet sky. The storm had passed, but she didn't yet know. The moment she stepped back on that stage, everything would change again. And this time, it wouldn't be humiliation waiting for her. It would be redemption. The night of the fundraiser arrived like a quiet miracle. The same ballroom that had once been filled with whispers and humiliation now glowed with soft amber light. Guests in elegant clothes moved through the room, unaware of how much history the space carried for one woman standing behind the curtain. Rosa took a deep breath, smoothing her simple navy dress. No sequins, no designer label, just her, the way she was meant to be. Her palms were clammy, but her heart felt calm. Ethan found her a few minutes before the event began. He was dressed sharply as always, but his voice was gentle. "You ready?" She smiled faintly. "Not really, but maybe that's a good thing." He chuckled softly. "It's strange, isn't it? How the same place can hold both the worst and best moments of your life." Rosa looked toward the stage. Maybe that's what redemption really is. Going back to the same place, but not as the same person. When the music director waved her forward, Ethan squeezed her hand once. "Go remind them who you are." Rosa stepped out under the lights. The room fell silent. Not from judgment this time, but from recognition. The guests remembered the viral video, the broken woman forced to sing. But the woman standing before them now was different. She took the microphone, her voice steady. "Some of you might remember what happened in this room not long ago. I was told to sing when I didn't want to. Tonight, I'm singing because I do." A quiet murmur swept through the audience. Ethan stood near the back, his eyes never leaving her. The first notes of her song floated into the air. It wasn't the same one as before. This was new. A song she had written over the past few weeks. Soft, honest, full of the quiet resilience that had carried her through every long night. "When they tried to silence me, I found my sound again. When they called me nothing, I learned I was enough." Her voice was rich, unshaken. It wasn't perfect, and a note slipped here and there, but every imperfection made it more human, more real. When the final line faded, the room erupted into applause. People stood, some with tears in their eyes. Even the waitstaff clapped from the back. Rosa's heart swelled, not from pride, but from peace. After the show, Ethan found her by the side entrance, away from the noise. She was holding a small bouquet someone had handed her, still stunned by it all. "You were incredible," he said. "I was terrified," she admitted with a laugh. "But I think that's what made it real." He nodded. "You reminded everyone what grace looks like under fire." Rosa looked at him then, really looked, at the man who had stood up for her when it cost him everything. "You didn't have to fight for me, Ethan, but you did. Why?" He paused for a long moment before answering. "Because no one should have to face the world alone when they've done nothing wrong. And because you made me remember who I wanted to be." The warmth in his voice made her chest tighten, but it wasn't the kind of love that demanded anything. It was the kind that simply stood beside her, quietly proud. A week later, the company launched a new initiative, the Second Chance Fund, to help employees rebuild after hardship. Rosa was its first ambassador. She declined media interviews, choosing instead to visit schools and shelters, telling her story only when it could give someone hope. And every now and then, she still sang. Not for fame, not for cameras, but for the peace it brought her. Because in the end, Rosa didn't rise by luck or by pity. She rose because she refused to let cruelty define her. Her voice, once silenced by fear, became a symbol of something far stronger than humiliation. It became proof that dignity, once reclaimed, can echo louder than any scandal. And as her song played softly over the credits of that night's charity broadcast, one line lingered in every listener's mind. Sometimes the only way to heal is to tell your story out loud. Moral of the story: kindness is not weakness, and truth always finds its way, even if it starts with a single voice in a crowded room. Question for you: do you believe that standing up for your dignity can change not only your story, but someone else's too? Thank you for watching. See you next time on Power and Karma.